How do you think the filmmaker community can kind of encourage that more avant-garde approach to filmmaking?
It just needs to be a cultural change in the way we think about things.
I'm Dave Baker, and today we're talking with Ty West about The Innkeepers. So, The Innkeepers is slightly different than your other movies in that it's very character-oriented and not so much plot intricacies and structure-oriented. Was that a conscious decision on your part?
The Innkeepers is a weirdly personal movie in that when we made House of the Devil, we lived in this hotel just because it was a cheap place to stay when we were shooting the movie, and all this weird stuff happened. And so The Innkeepers is very much written about those personal experiences. So it's also a movie about like being stuck in like minimum wage jobs and things like that. So I think that most of my movies are sort of about, well, I would say everything from House of the Devil on is about the people in the movies first and foremost, but The Innkeepers I think shows it more aggressively.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's like this weird, almost comedy that like strays into horror. Did you start writing a comedy and then we're like, well, maybe I'll make it a horror movie, or was it vice versa? Or?
I mean, it always was just meant to be a ghost story, but it was just like, I just thought it would be a charming ghost story if the character, I mean, I feel like, you know, the people in the, if they're not funny, then it's just like, then they don't have very interesting personalities. And I think like these people who are bored at work all the time have to amuse themselves, and if they weren't funny and weren't amusing themselves, it would feel not genuine, and then it would feel like, what's the point? But I didn't think of it like, oh, I'm mixing things, or it's this and then it's that. It was just sort of like, well, it's a movie about people who are stuck at this hotel and like they got to entertain themselves, and they're probably gonna entertain themselves by being like goofballs.
What year is The Innkeepers set in, like internally?
Present day.
Okay, because it felt a little bit like it was almost a period. I know this sounds a little strange, but it sounds like a period piece set in modern times.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not interested in technology as far as like in movies. I think it's like really boring. And I remember in that movie, even shooting the computer screens, I was like, what are we doing? But so it's just not something like, I don't really have an interest in making movies where people are like on iPhones or using iPads or whatever the current technology. It's just, to me, it doesn't, those devices and technological advancements are so not connected to people. They're connected to like the thing that is technology, that it's not interesting to me. Like someone having an iPad doesn't say anything about that person. Like I guess an iPhone versus a Galaxy 3 is like, oh, you're one of those people. But it's such a vague non-thing that it's like, that's not interesting to me.
Can you talk to me about the score for The Innkeepers? Because it really, more so than the other movies, it's a living, breathing thing when you watch the movie.
I don't know, maybe because the tone of that movie is a little bit odd. The music's a little odder than it normally would be, so it's more apparent. But I don't know. I just always feel like the music should represent what's sort of going on in the movie and sort of elevate it, hopefully. And that was really our goal. And I've worked with Jeff on so many movies, and he did a great job with that one.
Are you usually pretty involved in movie scoring?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very like specific. I probably drive him crazy, but yeah, him and then Graham Resnick, my sound designer, who does some of the music also, like. They really are the two people that give the sort of pizzazz to the movie, and I think that I'm looking forward on the Western to like start doing that now, because that's when the movie really comes to life.
Right. Do you ever feel pressure when starting a new movie to live up to the past, to kind of like make a movie that's as good as whatever your last movie was, or?
Maybe a little bit, but not really. I mean, you don't want to just blow it. I think it's more that. I don't think it's about living up to the last movie. It's more like I've been fortunate that like I've gotten through all these movies and been like, oh, like I kind of got through that relatively unscathed. Like the movie turned out pretty good. So I definitely don't want to come out and have a movie that turns out not good. But they're not related to the previous movie at all.
Okay. Thanks for coming in, Ty. It was great to talk with you.
Yeah, man. Good to be here.